Join us as we sail from Texas to the Caribbean. 3 summers, 3 legs, and the biggest adventure of our lives. Previously on Don Treader.
Alright, we have a floating house coming towards us. It's a house. No joke.
Regular sailing, it's, well, hardcore sailing. That's what I like. It's, you know, sailing in a gust of wind and yelling there. That's pretty
Very
awesome.
cool. GEEK Zone. And so here we are, killing the engine at our first anchorage.
Oh, man.
Nice.
This is just ALS Buddy Challenge. I nominate Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Hillary Clinton.
Today's run will take us through the Calcasieu Lock. Then it's the Black Bayou Pontoon Bridge, the Grand Lake Pontoon Bridge, and the Gibbstown Bridge. We'll then anchor for the night in the Mermentau River. In all, we've got roughly 40 miles to cover. Question is, I'm asking the boys, what's the difference between sailing, motoring in the ICW and sailing offshore? So, Quinn, your thoughts first.
It's less nauseating for sure. I think there's better fishing offshore, but not to say there aren't fish here. And offshore, it's a lot less it's a lot quieter because we don't have the motor running.
Okay. All right. And Jesse, what do you think?
I like it. I like the ICW more because you can see land and I think it's prettier and it's a lot less nauseating. And then it is. And then offshore, I don't know, it's peaceful, but then it's quiet. It's more quiet.
It's quieter offshore? Yeah. And did you say that this felt safer?
Yeah,
So why do you think it feels safer?
because if something happens, we're gonna just go to shore.
The boat sinks, you just swim over to the side?
Yeah,
Well, and then what happens when you swim to the side?
you get eaten by an alligator.
One of the interesting things you're going to see here is how the boys change in their view of sailing, being offshore versus being in the ICW. So if you remember from the last video, the boys were talking about how much they really prefer sailing, being offshore in many ways. In this video, in real time, they really like being in the ICW. But keep in mind, we're only 2 days into this. So their ideas and appreciation for the different aspects of being on a boat and cruising, either in the ICW or offshore, really evolve over time. And you'll see that as we move ahead. So for me, I seriously prefer sailing offshore. The ICW is just, it's hotter, it's more work, because again, offshore you can use the autopilot and just hang out, you know. In the ICW, you're constantly navigating, have to deal with the bridges. Like last night we got stuck for 2 hours waiting on a bridge, and that's going to be happening from what I hear quite a bit. So I don't know. I mean, I like the ICW. It was great just stopping last night and anchoring and hanging out, although it was insanely hot on the boat. So that's one of the big problems is after you've motored all day, you anchor, and then, you know, obviously the engine just heats up the boat like crazy. So we had it all open, it was pretty comfortable, and then the mosquitoes started hitting. So we had to close that up, and the boat just got unbearably hot. We ran the Jenny in the air conditioner for a few minutes, but I think I've got a small diesel leak in the Jenny. So anyway, that's what I mean. It's just like you're just dealing with a whole bunch of stuff all the time in the ICW. So we'll do this again after we've done this a few days in a row. But personally, I definitely prefer offshore. It's just cooler and quieter, and you don't have to work as hard unless you get squalls. Perfect. Thank you very much, sir.
When you get out of here, that's right by your bridge. Contact him on 13.
Roger, on 13. Thank you again.
So this was the Calcasieu Lock, and this was the first lock we'd ever encountered. And as you can tell, I was a little bit nervous, just coming upon this thing for the first time ever. Pepper didn't care. This wasn't a lock that is intended to raise and lower boats from one elevation to another. This was a hurricane lock, so they would close this off if there was a hurricane surge, mainly to prevent flooding.
Wave at him up there. This is Sweet Lake here in Louisiana. And coming up to a bridge up here, I can't remember the name of it right now. I can check it here. Let's see. Pull it up with Waterway Guide. Focus there. Okay, so that's the, there you go, Gibbstown Bridge, 73 feet of clearance. So yeah, coming up on that, we've got probably, I don't know, maybe 2 hours or so, maybe 3 hours to our next anchorage. It's been a nice ride. I did run aground and learned a lesson on passing barges. So, you know, this is the confessional, and you share your joys and your miseries. So here's my misery and humiliation. So I was coming up on one of the barges and asked to pass him on the one, and what I understood that to be was his one and not mine.
So when you're on the ICW and come upon a barge, you get on the VHF and request permission to pass. If you're hip and speak ICW-nese like I was convinced I could do, you say something like, "Hey good buddy, looking for a pass on the one." He says, "Sure, come on around." You, the convinced hipster, say, "Let's do this," and then... not what anyone had in mind.
So obviously that was a huge mistake. He was making room for me. I tried to pass him on his port side, and right before I ran into the mud, he was kind enough to tell me I was on the wrong side.
So passing on the one does indeed involve a port side. but the whistle side is always based on your boat, not his. So when you pass on the 1, you leave the barge on your port side. This is hip. Being in the mud is decidedly not hip. Conversely, when you pass on the 2, you leave the barge on your starboard side. Now you're getting the hang of it, you hipster. Whose punk kids are these anyway? They're annoying. So anyway, I was able to get back out and we laughed about it together. And then a little bit later, he told me I could pass him. And instead of using the numbers, he just told me, pass me on my port side. So anyway, lesson learned, and was glad we got out. It was just slowly tide was starting to fall, so we would have been good and stuck had we not been able to pull out of that. But good old Don Treader, it was a very mellow, in the mud kind of grounding, so no big deal, and she pulled right back out. This is Lake Misère or Misery. Hawk just caught a fish right over there. It's really pretty here. Says there's an anchorage right off the channel here, and it's listed at 4 to 5 feet. I'm in 11 feet here, but that does look like a pretty shallow lake. So yeah, I can see how you could get into some misery there if you're drawing more than a couple of feet. So anyway, beautiful area. Just lots of marshes and swamps, and then this opens up here into this pretty lake. So I'm liking the scenery. It's pretty nice. So is Pepper. Pepper always likes the scenery. So this anchorage here, right around that corner right there. And sorry, it's this anchorage here. So it looked pretty good. There would definitely be some wakes from the barges coming through here. And it says 5 to 8 feet. The water did look pretty skinny. So we are instead heading up here to the Mermentau. As you can see, it has more depth, 8 to 9 feet. So that'll be better for us. There is showing a 2-foot tide swing. So we're going to anchor here in a few minutes at pretty much low tide, and I'll show you the anchorage once we get there. Smackdaddy out. So the boys are coming up. We're getting close to our anchorage, which is going to be this one right here.
Geek Zone. So what I want to cover in this episode is using an iPad as your primary chart plotter. What I mean by a primary chart plotter is that chart plotter that's affixed at your helm, that you're using full time to navigate and to steer and to do everything that a typical traditional chart plotter is going to do. Now I want to make it clear, I've got nothing against major manufacturers or these chart plotters or these products or any of that on the traditional side of things. I just think an iPad is a tremendous value. I mean, when you compare, a 11-inch screen MFD from a major manufacturer, it's going to run you between $2,000 and $3,000, and an iPad 2 like we use, which we bought off eBay for less than $200. You really have to start looking at, what are the downsides to going with the iPad. So that's what we're going to look at today is look at a lot of the complaints that these, forum chuckleheads usually have against using an iPad. I've even been told that I'm irresponsible or putting my children in danger using an iPad. So it gets just crazy, out of control. So let's look at some of those complaints and then also look at our iPad and how it's set up and how that setup solves a lot of the problems these guys are complaining about. In fact, how the iPad can actually be a far better, far more flexible solution than the traditional chart plotter these guys love so much. So one of the big complaints you'll always hear is an iPad really built for the rugged marine environment? And the answer is, well, no. I mean, on its face, it's an iPad. It's not built to throw into the ocean. It's not built to leave out in a rainstorm or to leave out unprotected in salty marine air. So absolutely no. But there are fantastic cases that are being made for iPads that absolutely make them weatherproof and marinized and ruggedized and all those other terms that you may want to use. So let's look at the type of cases we use and some of the pros and cons between those cases. So what we've got here is the life proof case, as you can see. And I'll walk through that in a minute. And this one is the Life Edge case. And so this was my first purchase, first option. And real quickly, you can see a nice dirty iPad. Here, let me just really kind of, there you go. So what you do is you smear your finger in peanut butter and then use your iPad. So anyway, the way this works is this, you have this back piece. And then the iPad just fits. I've got an iPad 2 here, which is what I use for our chart plotters. This all goes great to this point, but then you have to put this thing on. So the first thing you'll notice is that it's got a film here, and then it's just this rubber case that fits over the iPad, and this snugs in under there. Now, this thing is a nightmare to get on this case. You have to actually use kind of this little shoehorn, but finally when it gets on, you have a waterproof seal and a really heavy, this is a heavy rubber protector that goes all the way around the iPad. So it's really robust. But there are several problems with it. The first problem is that you don't have a way to charge with this case on. We've got a charger port at the bottom of the nav pod that we put our iPad on so we can charge it. But again, there's no way to plug this in as the case comes. So they've got this cutout here in the plastic piece, the plastic backing, but as it comes, there's no cutout here. So what I did is, as you can see the marks on here, I just used an X-Acto to cut this piece out so that I could plug the charger in when we need it. Now obviously that completely destroys the waterproof capability of this thing, but it was more important to me to be able to charge it. And at the helm, we've got them mounted, roughly about like that, almost vertically. So I'm just trying to keep water off. And so with it mounted this way and the charger coming out the bottom, it's not that big of an issue. The charger really kind of tucks up under this and, you keep some waterproof integrity. And a few more things I don't like about it is to turn, the iPad to put it to sleep. This is the button on the iPad, as you can see right back here. that puts the iPad to sleep. The problem is they give you this button here, but it does not work. It does not put the iPad to sleep. The side buttons here for volume and everything else, none of that works. So even though it appears you've got that capability with the case, you do not. This film that goes over the top of your screen, it is a no gloss film that goes over the top. And the problem with that is it doesn't lay flat against your iPad screen. So not only can you not get the peanut butter all over your screen like we obviously like to do, but it's just, you have to press really hard to kind of move things around, and pinch and zoom is a pain. So overall, I wasn't real pleased with it. So that led me to this, which is the life-proof case. And this is a lot different, and I think a much, much better design. So what you see here is the case that comes with it. Just covers the top of it. You pull that off, and this case is really, really simple. So, the top of it, the iPad just drops into it. Then this top piece basically just snaps down over the top of the iPad. And the way this works is you've got this gasket here that seals very tightly against the glass of the iPad. And so all of the other kind of ports and holes and inlets and everything, all of those are covered and waterproof, but everything's still accessible. So this is a much easier button to use than the other case. And again, the sleep button back here, that works great. You also have the ability to pull this peg out and plug headphones in if you want. The camera port is much clearer and works a lot better than the other. And then finally, like we talked about a second ago, this pops open. It's waterproof, but it pops open and has a perfect charging port here that, again, is far, far superior to what you've got going on with the Life Edge case. So overall, as you can see how this is built, overall this is a far, far better solution, I think. So with the life-proof nude case that I just walked you through, is the iPad suited for the rugged marine environment? Absolutely. I mean, are you going to put one of the high-end MFDs 6 feet underwater and expect it to be just fine? No. So this iPad in a waterproof case, I could argue is actually even better than a not completely waterproof MFD that costs $5,000. Yes, you will sacrifice the waterproof part when you open the port to charge. But again, that is such a small issue that I think you're really stretching to try to make that point. So, verdict, fail on this argument. Another complaint you'll hear is that the iPad battery will run out of charge at exactly the worst time when you're entering an inlet in a hurricane, all that kind of stuff. Well, 3 points to that. A traditional chart plotter is likely going to have one source of power, and that is your boat battery bank. So when that goes, your chart plotter goes. In the case of an iPad, you have the same battery bank that you have on your boat providing that power, but you also have the internal battery, which can last hours if you know how to deal with your iPad. But additionally, we have a portable solar charger that can charge the iPad completely independently of the boat. So in that respect, we actually have a much safer solution when it comes to power than with a traditional MFD. The way that we charge our iPad is we have a USB waterproof charger on the nav pod, run that directly into the iPad, and can charge it all day. Yes, we have to sometimes unplug it if it's pouring buckets of rain. But again, that's for a few hours typically, which is not a problem at all. And then we plug it right back in. We've never had any problem at all. So verdict on this issue, fail. The next one is one of my favorites. So it goes like this. Because the iPad is not permanently mounted or bolted to the nav pod like a traditional chart plotter would be, well, you could accidentally drop it overboard. And yeah, I suppose you could, if you're a moron. But if you've got it attached to the nav pod like we do with just a standard bracket, that thing's not coming off.
Okay, this is the ram mount I was talking about here at the helm. The way that this works with the life proof case that we were looking at yesterday is you just put it under here, push it up, and clip it in, and it is very, I don't have this screwed down yet, but so it's very, very secure. Just a spring-loaded, simple case to hold this. Strong, secure, and I think it is going to work a lot better than what we had before.
It would take a major wave strike to get rid of your iPad chart plotter mounted the way we have it mounted. The advantage is, if we want, we can actually easily take the iPad chart plotter out and move around the boat with it if we would like. We don't even need to do that, however, because in addition to the iPad we have mounted at the helm, we have a backup iPad 2 down below that we can use as well as a chart plotter. It has exactly the same app. And we also have between 3 to 5 iPhones on board that can also be used as chart plotters with the exact same chart plotting app we have on our primary. So again, where the clumsy chucklehead has one chart plotter bolted to his helm so he won't drop it overboard, we have between 5 to 7 chart plotters on our boat that provides a tremendous amount of redundancy. So again, verdict for this argument, fail. The next complaint you'll run into is that iPads as chart plotters are not bright enough to see in full daylight. Now, there's some truth to this, because if you compare, especially an iPad 2, to a top-of-the-line MFD chart plotter from Furuno or Garmin or whomever, absolutely that high-end chart plotter is brighter than an iPad 2. In fact, the newer iPad versions are brighter than the iPad 2 as well, and come close to the brightness that you'll see on the high-end chart plotter. The question is that really a problem? Well, for some really old traditionalist chuckleheads with poor eyesight, maybe. But again, let's say that maybe there's a 20% difference. As you can see in the footage that we've been showing you, our iPad 2 is plenty bright. Yes, we have a bimini, and yes, we have it mounted in such a way that you're not pointing it directly at the sun. But it's perfectly visible in all conditions we've used it in. It's just not an issue.
Real quickly, I'll show you the so this is the chart we were talking about yesterday. I'm going to bump up the brightness all the way. Cancel out of that. Okay, so, as you can see, let me get out of this here. To me, this is great brightness. I have no trouble seeing this whatsoever. I don't have the VHF on, which gives you the AIS targets, and also the iMux with the instruments are not on right now, so depth and all of those other readings we don't have right this second. But when all that's on and wireless is connected, then I'm fed all of that information here at the helm. So, for me, I think it's a really good system. I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of glare, but, when you're here at the helm, I've never had a problem with it. I guess it just depends on how you've mounted it, whether or not you've got a bimini, kind of all these things that you would typically use.
So if you take the slightest bit of effort and care in using your iPad and not pointing it at the sun when you're trying to use it, then I think you're probably going to be very satisfied with what you get out of an iPad chart plotter, especially the newer generation. So yeah, there's some validity to it. I'm not going to do the math to figure exactly what the different nits are between the new MFDs and my iPad 2, but I can absolutely tell you the iPad 2 has never presented any visibility problems to us whatsoever. So again, yeah, there may be some difference in brightness, but in terms of overall use of iPads as a chart plotter, the verdict on this one is fail. So there are many other arguments surrounding this debate between iPads as chart plotters and other mobile devices as chart plotters and traditional MFDs and traditional chart plotters with the buttons and all this other stuff. At the end of the day, I think the iPad is one of the most versatile, redundant, safe, flexible, powerful tools you can possibly have for the money. So don't listen to the naysayers. Prove it to yourself. The bottom line is you have to take it out there and you have to be willing to lose an iPad and put it through those paces and destroy it if need be to find out if it's going to live up to it. So what we'll do is at the end of our trip, I'll come back and give you a full report and show you this iPad chart plotter we've used, and let's see how beat up it is. Let's see how many problems we have over the next 1,000 miles on the way to Florida. But at this point, the verdict is the iPad is awesome. I highly recommend it.
5 smacks for you. Mermentau G1A. I'm showing 8 to 9 feet. Here we are coming up and around. And there comes Jesse. And I'll film when we start to drop anchor. Alright, Jesse is singing Red Hot Chili Peppers. We are in another really beautiful anchorage with cypress trees. It's about 9 feet of water, and we've got out 70 feet, so about a 7 to 1. We're up in the Mermentau River, and it's beautiful. Try and walk us through how this is better than last night.
There's wind, so you can have all the hatches open, and it feels like there's actual air conditioning going right now instead of fire.
Yeah, so last night we got in around 8, and there was 0 wind, and it was really hot.
and the mosquitoes started getting us because we were fairly close to shore, and so it was just, we closed up the boat and it was just hellish. So Jess, what do you think? Is this better?
Yes.
Yes.
Way better.
Way better. Yeah, so we're getting a nice breeze through here, and we put up some no-seam netting. We may do that to the other hatches, but we did it to this one. I need to come up with a better solution than the blue tape, but we'll figure that out. So Pepper was panting like crazy last night down here. Her bed is usually under the table. So I woke up about 2:30 a.m. and put her out in the cockpit so she could have some fresh air and stay cool. So anyway, I think tonight's going to be better. And we're far enough away from the shore that I think we will not get hit by the bugs too much. We'll see. It's about 7:45. Jesse, what are you doing?
Cooking.
Cooking what?
Red beans and rice.
Red beans and rice. Yes, it's looking pretty tasty. And where are we?
We are in a swamp.
Swamp. Yep. Do you know what river we're in?
Black Bayou?
No, it's close. We're in Mermentau.
Oh.
Mermentau River. So it's just beautiful out here. There's Pepper eating something she probably shouldn't. And the sun's kind of going down. It's just tremendous. It kind of doesn't get better than this. Hey everyone! Just wanted to give you a quick message to all of our patrons.
What are our patrons?
They're the very generous people that give us money for our videos.
Okay.
Yeah, so
People give us money for these?
yeah, they donate
That's crazy. Why would people give us money for
Guys,
these?
because they're generous people.
That's crazy.
Yes, okay, fine. Just okay. Okay, so as I was saying, I just wanted to thank all of the patrons for being very generous and giving us money for the videos, which is a little crazy, but hey, you know, thank you. So I want to also let you know that only on our patron page we will be providing, you know, behind the scenes videos of, you know, what we think about what we're heading into and just kind of the mindset of being out there cruising. So hope you guys enjoy that. Just a little bit of an extra for all of our patrons. Thank you very much for your support, and look forward to seeing you the next episode. I will now untie my children.
Hit the like and the subscribe button. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button.
Smash that like button in the face.
Yeah, I'll make that next video if we get 10,000 likes.